Hey everybody, and welcome to Project Premium Harvest. My name is Matt. In today's video, we're going to be going over the YieldMax Group A pairs that have paid out on March 21st, 2025. We're going to talk about their distributions. We're going to be talking about the funds in general. How are they performing? Is their total return up or is it down? We're going to talk about all those different types of scenarios, and stay tuned to see what the numbers look like. So let's get started. For any of the new viewers that are watching this video for the first time or on my channel for the first time, I'm just going to give a quick summary of what I'm all about. I took an $80,000 HELOC loan against a rental property I own, took that money, threw it into Robinhood, borrowed against it using margin, and I invested into high income ETFs over a span of the last 10 months. And this is where my project is currently at right now. And the whole goal is not necessarily the growth of my account. Of course, I want to see the fund or the portfolio go higher, but end of the day, it's how could I receive a distribution or run covered call options to make additional money so I can retire faster. I'm already solidified on long-term, like, 401k I'm maxing out my Roth IRA. So I'm also maxing out an HSA. So all the long-term wealth ideas, I'm already maxing out. I bought a house, I'm paying it off, and the thing is, it's like, how can I potentially retire 10, maybe 20 years sooner instead of having to wait until I'm, 60, 65, 70 to make that, transition over to that freedom level. Okay, that being said, first thing I like to show is my account value. It is at $111,732.20. Now let's move over to the spreadsheet so we can talk about the funds in Group A for YieldMax. Okay, guys, so the first fund we're going to talk about for the YieldMax Group A is CRSH, and it's the opposite of whatever TSLY does. So TSLY runs options against Tesla, and then Crash runs puts against Tesla. Cool. So the distribution payment for the most recent week is going to be 65 cents. And the current share price is $7.37. If we look at the last 11 distributions, it's coming up on its 1-year anniversary here. The total premium was $7 per share. If we look at the average distribution per share, it's about 64 cents. And if you look at the share price change in value since inception, so basically we're taking those $20 and putting it against that $7.37, we are down 63.15%. So not very good. However, if we do throw the premium into that calculation for a total return, it's only down 27.7%. However, the way I operate is I don't like seeing a negative number in any of my investments. So therefore, I don't think this is a good investment, and I personally would not invest into it. Look at the all-time high. It's going to be the same idea here where we're still negative, 64.87%. And if we also throw in the distributions, we are negative 31.07%. And the average share price for this fund is $10.89, but it's trading at $7.37. So there's that. Cool. Moving over to actual TSLY actual. So this is when YieldMax runs options against Tesla itself. The inception price was about $40. They did do a reverse split, some time ago, and the all-time high was $43.53. Cool. So the most recent distribution payment, TSLY's paid out at 46 cents, and the current share price is $8.07. So if you guys see this 40 and then this 8, we are down a lot of money. But let's go down. So the total premium since this fund was incepted back in January of 2023 is about $31.75. If you look at that as a number of total distributions, that's 28. And if you look at that as an average distribution, that's about $1.13 per share per payment. And if you look at the share price change in value since its inception, it's down negative 79.83%. But if we throw in the actual premiums into that calculation, you're only down, 0.5%, so negative 0.45%. End of the day, it's still a negative number, but that is not too bad. I hate to see, this share price down almost 80%, but the premium is pretty good. So this really boils down to, as an investor, you look at this number. Are you willing to take the risk of this fund going down for that premium? So it's that trade-off, premium versus appreciation and the NAV erosion. So I can't tell you what to invest in. I personally would not invest in something like this. For me, this has to be a blankly obvious positive number, or it has to match somewhere around the S&P 500. And for investing about 2 years of money to get a negative 0.5% return, that's something I wouldn't invest in. And then from the all-time high value, we're down negative 81.46%. And as a total return, it's negative 8.52%. Look at the average share price. It is $20.62. I will say Tesla, I said this in my other video, but Tesla right now, the sentiment for it is relatively low, and the ceiling for Tesla to continue going down because of how Elon Musk is standing politically. A lot of, I won't say a lot of people, but a certain section of the country and just people in general don't like him supporting a certain political party. Therefore, the share price might suffer a little bit. And because that sentiment, people aren't buying the cars, people are trashing the cars. And there is an earnings call April 22nd, which is coming up. And I'm thinking about throwing some puts onto Tesla to see if I can cash in some of that downside. My brother's a big Tesla bull, but for me, I'm willing to put some puts against it to make some money and then position myself better for the future. But yeah, just in general, this YieldMax fund would invest it. I actually used to be invested in it. And then I realized I crunched the numbers and was like, hey, maybe this investment isn't too great. I think Curve's TSLY does a better job, but it's also Tesla and it's going down right now. And I don't think that's relatively going to change, at least that sentiment and the financials, until 6 months to a year from now when their robotaxi and robot stuff starts coming out, Neuralink more effectively. So cool. Moving over to the next fund. So we're going to be looking at Fiat. So Fiat was incepted January of 2025 at inception price of $50 a share, and the all-time high is also $50 a share. But since it's incepted, it has been going down. I would like to attribute that to a correction in the market. I don't think it's a bear market. I think it's just a correction for now. We don't know if it will continue to be a bear market. So hard to say. We'll find out later. But this fund has paid out 3 different times. This is a monthly payer. And the most recent distribution was about 69 cents. From the 3 distribution payments, the total premium is $4.79 a share, and that's an average distribution of $1.59 a share. If we look at the share price change in value, it's negative 27.84%. And if we also throw in the distributions for the total return, that's negative 18.25%. So since this fund has incepted in January, it has not made money. I'm not necessarily saying this fund is terrible just yet. I think it's too early to tell. Let's give this fund 6 months to a year to actually make a better determination of if this is a good investment. So if you're thinking about investing, I would hold off on it because YieldMax is notorious for NAV erosion. And if you're trying to actually have a decent investment, don't invest into the negative stuff. This is negative. Let's not invest into it. Cool. So the all-time high numbers will be exactly the same, and the average share price is about $43.50 a share. Moving over to 5V. 5V, same thing with Fiat, has been only out for 3 months, had a January 2025 inception, and its inception price of $50 a share. It has never crested above $50, so we're just going to maintain that as an all-time high as well. The most recent distribution for 5V was 71 cents a share. And the total amount of premium since this fund has been incepted is about $3.50 a share. If we look at that as an average distribution, that's 1.16. And if we look at the share price change in value since it's incepted, it's negative 26.8%. But once we add in the premium and the share price, we're going to get a total return of negative 19.79%. And these two numbers are going to be the same for also the all-time highs. And lastly, the average share price, 44.03 after 3 payments. Same thing with 5E, too early to tell. I personally am not investing in this or would want to invest into it. Now let's go over to GUI. So GUI's inception price was $20 a share, and it at one time has crested higher than $20 to $20.62 a share. The most recent distribution payment for GUI is 33 cents a share. So let's go down to some of more of the general metrics. Since this fund incepted back in September of 2023, the total premium was $7.93. We have 20 distributions total, or 20 different payments, and that's an average distribution of 39 cents a share. If you look at the share price change in value since its inception, we're down 37.25%. However, if we throw in these premiums into that share price, we're actually have a total return of positive 2.45%, which is quite nice. It's rare to see YieldMax funds being in the positive, even in a downward market. This not necessarily a bad number. However, I do think the curve funds do it better. So I don't invest into GUI, I invest into Curves Goop. And the all-time high share price change in value is negative 39.14%. And if you invested at the absolute worst time, you are still negative 0.63%. How unfortunate. The average share price of GUI is $16.57. Okie dokie, let's go over to OARK. So OARK was incepted at $20 a share, and it has one time in its fund's history crested $21.26. The most recent distribution payment for OARK is 32 cents a share. And if we scroll down to the total premium, we're at $12.49 per share for total premium. If you look at the number of distributions, it's about 28. If you look at the average distribution per share, it's about 44 cents a share. Now let's look at the total return. So the change in the share price change in value is negative 58.80%. And if you look at that, also adding in the distributions, it's actually positive 3.66%. However, for investing into a fund for over 2 years, I think 3.66% is an abysmal return on your money, and you could have put your money into something else that you literally could have put it into GPIX or JEPQ and have made a better return. So look at the all-time high numbers. We're negative 61.24%, and you are still negative 2.49%. The average share price for this fund is about 12.92. However, currently it is trading at $8.24. I personally not investing in this. Now let's look at SNOY. Inception price $20 a share, all-time high $21.08. The most recent distribution is 18 cents a share. And the current share price is $16 a share. Look at the total premium, it's $8.39 per share. And the number of distributions has been 10. This fund is relatively new, and it was incepted in July of 2023, or at least that's when the first payment was. The average distribution for this fund is about 83 cents or almost 84 cents a share. And if we look at the share price change in value since its inception, we are negative 20%. However, if we actually add in the distribution payment into the share price, we're actually up 22%, which I think is pretty good. So just looking at an unbiased opinion of YieldMax, I'm seeing a positive number for, a 10-month, 9-month window. This is something I would consider investing in, but we will see how this fund performs over time. At this time, I personally would invest in it, but this is a positive number. So of the funds, if I were thinking about investing in YieldMax, this is definitely on the radar. And let's look at the all-time high numbers, negative 24.10% with the share price change in value, and the total return, because we're throwing in the distribution as well, you're still positive 15.75% if you invested at the worst time and the 52-week high of this fund. Average share price 17.88. So there's that. Now let's go over to TSMY. The inception price $20, all-time high is $21.08. The most recent share price distribution was 58 cents a share. Look at the total premium since this fund has been incepted on October 2nd of 2024. We have a total premium of $4.42. We have 7 distribution payments, and the average distribution for this fund is about 63 cents a share. The share price change in value since its inception is negative 23%, and the total return, once we also throw in the distribution payments with the share price, is negative 0.85%. So it's a negative number. Fund has been out for about 6-7 months. I don't know, not investment worthy to me. If you look at the all-time high values, we are still negative 26.94%. And then if we look at the total return, that's negative 5.93%. Average share price $19.14. Cool. Now let's look at XOMO. Someone in the comment section said, oh, XOMO is doing good. We're going to see if that is actually the case. Inception is $20 a share, and the all-time high is $20.44 a share. The most recent distribution payment for XOMO is going to be 30 cents a share. If we scroll down, let's look at the holistic picture of this ETF. This fund has paid out $5.73 a share, and there have been 19 payments from this fund. The average distribution for this ETF is 30 cents a share, and the share price change in value since the inception was negative 28.05%. Look at the total return. We are up 0.6%. So not even a full percent, just 0.6%. And for an investment that you have put in for about, a year and a half to get not even a percent return, I don't know if it's a good investment. I don't think so. The share price change in value since the all-time high, we're at negative 29.6%, and the total return is negative 1.56. So that's a bad investment to me. The average share price, 17.76, is the average share price. Is this absolutely terrible? No. But as an investor, like personally for me, that isn't a high enough return for me to take on that NAV erosion. Therefore, that total return would have had to have been higher for me to even consider it. But since it's very neutral, I personally don't think it's a good investment. But if people are out there are investing and they do like that little bit of cash and that balance, totally up to them. And I think this is the last one, YBIT. So I was actually interested to see how this one plays out. So YBIT, inception price was $20 a share, and it has gone higher than that one time in its fund's life. It's at $21.42. If you look at the most recent distribution, it paid out about 44 cents. And the total premium since this fund has been incepted is $9.19 a share. And the number of distributions is 11. If you look at the average distribution, it's about 83 cents a share, and the share price change in value since it incepted is negative 54.25%, and the total return is, because we're also throwing in the distribution payments, is negative 5.01%. So it's a negative number. I'm not investing in this. But if we look at the all-time high values, it's probably going to be a little bit worse. So it's negative 54.25%, and then the total return is negative 11.31%. And if we look at the average share price, we're at $14.20. Let's go back to Robinhood for my final words. All right, guys, so that wraps up this YieldMax Group A video. We talked about all the different types of distribution payments for the last week. We talked about the total funds performance since they have incepted and at their absolute all-time high. So we have an idea that if you invest at the inception or at the absolute worst time, what your potential return can be, and maybe find something in the middle. I'm not telling you how to invest your money, but personally, from what I have seen from these YieldMax Group A funds, I would not invest in them. The only one that actually had a positive return is SNOY, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not really a fan of Snowflake in general for them to have that upward trajectory. That's better than a Google, a Microsoft, Amazon with their AWS cloud, or even Oracle itself, like the database and the cloud company. So those are kind of my 2 cents on that matter. Hopefully this provided insight for you. Yeah, and that's it. Hope you guys are doing well out there, Matt out, and I'll see you at the next video. Next week is going to be the Group B funds.